My name is Andrew, and today's actually our first official interview. So this is awesome. Our first guest is Erin Diedling. She is a licensed counselor, an energy healer, clairvoyant, and a wonderful networker, amongst many other things. So welcome, Erin.
Thanks so much for having me on the show, Andrew. I really appreciate being here. It's an honor. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely excited. So, yeah, so we'll dive into many different topics probably in this episode, but so you just started a new YouTube and podcast series called Word Up, and that's about healers and healing, correct?
Absolutely. And sometimes I interview clinical psychotherapists. Sometimes I interview energy healers. Sometimes we do psychic readings live on the show. It's healers from all walks of life and all kinds of even unexpected places. Like I interviewed a mortician about healing the dead and the living, healing the whole family. And then I'm going to be doing a show, about flight attendants and how they heal our families in the sky. At any one time, there are about 200,000 people up in the sky. And I think of flight attendants as, healers in the sky, tending to our flock, tending to our families. So that'll be a fun one.
Very cool.
And you're certainly you're one of my favorite healers. I get to read with you sometimes, and we know each other a long time.
Yeah, I was actually just thinking about that. So I think it's been like maybe about 10 years, a little over 10 years. We probably have known each other. Does that seem right?
I started that psychic school where you were already at the psychic school. I think I went there the first time in 2007.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, so it's been maybe 11 years or so.
Right. So I think, I'm not sure if this is accurate, but I think maybe, I was in the clairvoyant training. For those that don't know that are listening or watching, we went to a psychic school called Envision in Chicago. And I was currently in the clairvoyant training, which is like a year-long training on developing your clairvoyance. You're opening your third eye. And
the third eye.
Yep. And I was there I think I was the center chair, the primary reader for a past life reading, I believe. And you came in. Was that, I think that's the first time I've met you, I guess, maybe?
Yeah, I may have been a student at that point, or maybe I just went and got a reading, because you could get really inexpensive student readings.
Right.
And you're getting professional grade readings from a bunch of students and more than one person, and you were center chair.
Yeah.
It blew my mind. It's like, whatever these people are doing here, I want in.
Yeah, that's how it all begins, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so how did you end up finding Envision? Like, what led you there, I guess?
Wow. Well, as a kid, I had abilities, and my mom had taken me to the priest, and because I would see things, I would feel things. We were living in a house for 6 to 8 months while when we moved to Louisiana, and in Louisiana there's a I'm getting full circle, but in Louisiana, if there is a paranormal activity or a major event that happens in the home, if the home is haunted, you have to disclose that to the new buyers. And we weren't buyers, we were renters, and a murder had just taken place in the home. We didn't know that because it wasn't disclosed, because we were just renters, not buyers. And I would feel it. I would feel the presences. I would feel the fear. I'd be terrified. And my mom took me to the priest, and the priest was like, nope, nothing's wrong with her. She has gifts and abilities. She speaks a different language than you. And these gifts need to be protected and cultivated. And, please don't view that as a negative. And later on, we learned on the school bus on the way to school, the kids were like, you live in the murder house. And what? And then we got a little bit, my mom went and asked the person who rented us the house and got the full scoop. And I won't go into the details because they're pretty gory. But I felt it. And, I would, in the house before that, I felt some stuff too. And a lot of times when kids go through a trauma, which I had already at that point, some major stuff, you become, I think you send a part of your soul away, maybe to more etheric realms, and and then the parts of you that stick around become more hyper alert, hyper aware, like where's the next thing coming from, and it's self-protective. So sometimes the psychic ability is turned on out of, I think, self-protection for a lot of people, and also just because some people have the abilities and just never turn them off. I turned them off, I think, for a long time because I felt like it wasn't too accepted in my family. You know, it was a little crazy, or it wasn't religious. It's like, you know, if you saw an angel, maybe that's okay. Or if you see the Virgin Mary, no problem. No one's actually going to believe that you did, but you know, that's okay. But if you see auras or chakras or orbs of light, you know, that's questionable. Or if you can read energy or have premonitions,
Right.
Or speak to the dead, that's, you know, that wasn't considered PC in the culture of the home where I grew up. So I think part of me tuned down the abilities, and later on I was living, you know, I had roommates where there was lots of permission, and we were all kind of tuning up our abilities. And I was in graduate school for clinical psychotherapy at the time. And my roommate said, well, why don't you just quit school and go learn to do energy stuff? And it just flew out of my mouth. I said, it's not time yet. And I don't know how I knew that. So coming back to your question, sorry for the big, long, circuitous answer, but I had started in private practice as a clinical psychotherapist, doing what I love, which is treating intense, complex, you know, trauma. And I was like, I'm so passionate about this. I've always wanted to be in private practice, and it's killing me. And I love doing what I'm doing. And I think I need to retire 2 months in. And I kept hearing about the school, but people would say it under the wrong name, or they'd say it really close to the right name. And I'd look it up in the phone book, because back then they had phone books, and I'd walk up and down the street where people said it was. I could never find it. When I finally did go in, the lady was like, oh, you're the one who's been walking up and down the street looking for us. She's like, I felt, you know, I don't know if she was messing with me or she really felt me, but it was nice to be wanted.
Right.
And I went to the school and I learned how to clean everything out, how to clean out all of the heavy energy that I was absorbing in session, and learning that I don't have to take it on. I can notice it, touch into it, feel it, sense it, read it. But not have to carry it around. And the school taught me how to clean it out.
Right.
And that was a big gift. That was a big plus.
Yeah. Yeah, I always find it interesting, you know, what, you know, it's an unusual thing to, you know, land yourself at a psychic school. And I always find it interesting how people arrive to that point in their lives. You know, for myself, it was, I met, my friend Ryan, you know, we were in art school in Chicago. Yep. We were in, we were roommates downtown Chicago at an art school. And he finally opened up to me, and that's, he mentioned that he found the school and, you know, said, hey, you want to get art readings? And that's kind of what led me there. It was one of those things where I was like, I have to, like, this place is awesome. Like, I have to take the classes. So it was like full on.
And you were always a seeker, though, weren't you? Like, even before you came to the school, did you consider yourself a seeker? Maybe not in the spiritual sense, but someone who's always looking for truth.
Yeah, I would say, you know, and I guess we had similar situations. I mean, I grew up in a house that's over, or, you know, 300 years old or so in Pennsylvania, and so I had a, you know, weird
really
experience.
Cool.
Yeah, it was very different kind of upbringing, but you know, in nature, I love that. But yeah, the house was haunted. People died in it, and so I experienced, you know, a lot of strange experiences growing up. Some a little unnerving, and especially for a kid. As an adult,
Yeah.
It's different. But
I've been to that house, and
yes,
you can definitely feel it. From room to room, it's like, you know, you can feel almost like a vortex in this room, and, you know, other things in that room, and it's palpable. It's it's a farmhouse from the 1700s, I believe.
Yes, yeah, yeah. There's when I was younger, there was literally a room. There's one specific room that I would have to cross through to get to my bedroom. And when I was a late teenager, I would be out late and I'd come home. Everyone's asleep, all the lights are off, and I'd have to walk through this room, and it was just very deeply uncomfortable because it felt like someone was there's a presence there, and it felt like they were just staring at you. So it just felt very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's. I think I had when I finally arrived at the school, the clairvoyance started turning on and seeing all these colors and geometrical shapes and etc. And I started remembering, like, oh, when I was younger, of all those experiences of seeing things and hearing things, and so I think, like you, I turned it off, and eventually, that going to that school helped me turn it all back on. So
yeah.
But yeah, I always find the journey to there kind of just very interesting. So what
and
would
did you have a level of acceptance where maybe you could tell, or maybe subconsciously, this is not going to fly, so I better turn down my gifts? Or did they just turn off? Or was there a moment?
For me, I think I shut down everything pretty much. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it was kind of like leaving like a speck of energy in my crown chakra, just kind of leaving a little bit of energy, and it was just kind of like a little seed there, just saying, like, I know that there's something more, or I have to go find my truth. That's all I kind of knew. I just knew there was something more, and I had to seek it out. But yeah, I pretty much shut down. Just, I got very depressed, and just, depression kind of took over, and I wanted to.
How old did you how do you like being interviewed on your own show? Sorry. The therapist in me can't stop. How old were you when you shut down your gifts, do you think?
Oh, man. I don't know. I mean, probably between 4 and 7 at least. It was pretty young. Yeah, it's. I think for most people, it's not really an acceptable. For some households, it's not very acceptable. But also at the same time, there's such a lack of awareness of this energy work and these different abilities within the chakras and the higher ones, such as the clairaudience or clairvoyance. I just don't think there's much education about it, because it's either people don't know about it, or it's just dismissed as this thing that's not real. Right. It's just there's something wrong with you if that's what you believe in. That's kind of what So it's going to a school like that is not. It's more just kind of unwinding all of the junk that you kind of accumulated, and kind of getting back to just yourself. Really, you could just kind of. That's kind of what it was like for me. Just a whole process of healing, self-healing, and self-discovery. But it was a very exciting time, because you're just kind of basically waking up on just different levels repetitively.
Yeah, it's like a renaissance.
Right.
It was a pretty magical time, being at that school and being there every night, every day I could get there.
Yeah. So what would you say, like, your biggest takeaway from just your total experience from just doing psychic training in general? What would you say your biggest takeaway was? I
think in some ways how obvious it is. Like, how could I not have this ability? How could I not see these things? It's so much a part of my life. Like, I've learned to live my life more intuitively. Like, I'm not taking that street. The GPS says to take that street, but I'm not feeling it. Or even choosing a restaurant. Like, that restaurant has. Can I swear on your show?
Oh yeah, go
ahead. Like that restaurant has shit energy, even though it looks really fancy, and that hole in the wall has amazing energy. So I want to go in there. Or that it's not so much the look, it's the vibe of the place. And or, you know, do I really need to buy this shirt? Like, yeah, am I going to like this shirt in 2 weeks? No.
Right.
And, or is it just like, you know, the impulse of being in front of the mirror in the dressing room or something? It's so, it just in simple ways. Or do I take that training? Am I going to have a better life for having taken that training? Or can I learn that out of a book or watching a video or something? Because I love knowledge. And so living my life more intuitively, but also, I mean, I'm a professional psychic now. So it seems so obvious when I read people, the energy, and I don't always know what I'm reading. I don't always, if I'm reading someone, I might see an image and they'll be like, oh, that, you know, that is so meaningful. And sometimes people are like, nah, that doesn't resonate for me. Every once in a great while that'll happen. And, you know, you feel invalidated as a psychic, but, you know, but years later, people say, you know, that thing you said in my reading, I'm like, no, I don't remember that at all. And they're like, it's happening. A friend slash psychic client came to me and said, you know, years ago, you always used to read me swinging from a tree house. And she said, I'm building an indoor playground with a tree house with a colleague. We're making it a business. And, you know, free will choice. People have free will ability and they don't have to believe what I say or my reading. And I'm learning to trust that more. And right now my working edge is reading the dead. Like I watch these TV shows. I'm like, oh, that's the dead talking to me. Like, you know, it kind of happens naturally. And I just think, oh, I'm just saying that to make someone feel better. But when I've actually read people's deceased loved ones, I find it brings them a lot of comfort, and it's, you know, it's very healing work to do. And that's my learning edge right now is, you know, might not be able to give someone specifics about, oh, you know, you're going to find their coffee pot or their coffee can full of money, you know, in this drawer. But I'll get sometimes specific images. And there's a woman I read recently and she's still sending me images every few weeks or months, of an image that her mother had given me in a reading that the mom had passed on. And she keeps finding this particular bird that I was like, I don't know why I'm getting cardinal. And then the next day she's like, oh my gosh, my mom painted a cardinal and I had no idea she painted. And then she'll find cardinal symbols buried in her mom's things as she's cleaning out her mom's house, and a connection that she didn't. And I didn't know why I was getting that image, but she'll text me a picture of different things every now and again when she sees this cardinal image, and that's fun. It's nice to know that you can comfort people and share that their loved ones are with them, and that you know, that they're pulling for them on the other side and helping to heal and helping to make their lives better on the other side.
Yeah.
Or so it seems to me.
Yeah, I've found I haven't read that too much, but in just kind of brief experience from that I've had was, it's interesting how, especially if you know them, someone, you know, in your life, they might act a certain way towards you, and then it's almost like if they pass and then you end up doing, maybe they come to you in a meditation or you do a reading or whatever it might be, and it's like the message or the energy is almost different. It's like from a different perspective almost. It's interesting.
Because they dropped off all the weight and the heaviness of the body, or all the programming that had to go with this body and this life.
Right. Exactly.
You know, and, you know, I read someone and the mom was like, she favored the child who was kind of the so-called screw up, and then the person I was reading was the one who was there in the end and doing all the care and doing all the tending to and bathing and getting the parent to medical appointments. And I didn't know that, but I was reading, the mom was like, I haven't really been there for you, but please know how much it meant to me that you were there for me, even though I wasn't there for you so much as a parent, and like these kinds of messages, and that they can drop away the mask in death,
right,
and speak more freely.
Right.
Let's just speak freely, shall we?
Mm-hmm. So when you're, as a professional psychic, I know you do a little bit of everything, but what do you lean more towards? Do you enjoy more of the energy healing, or the readings, or like guiding people in meditations? Like, what is your more of your stronger interest, I guess, out of all those?
I like the reading and the healing. I'll do guided imageries, and actually even in clinical therapy sessions, guided imagery is a legit cognitive behavioral format. So that world has informed sometimes how I do guided imagery or guided meditations. But really my favorite thing is reading healing, or reading while I'm healing, and just kind of letting it flow through, and working when it's hands-on, or when you're doing an energy healing, it happens so fast that if you stop and try to name it, that you slow down the process, because energy is like no time, no space, boom, and people can have really radical shifts, and that's the quickest, and that's the most fun, because one of my favorite things, my favorite thing to do as a psychic is to just kick dark energy's ass. I literally have people that come to me for exorcisms. I know that's a big, triggering word, or can be. It's a big word. And for lack of a better term, and I'll have people I'll call and say, hey, I'm doing an exorcism today. Please hold some space for me. It's just nice to have some community, or have someone else know, like, hey, I'm jumping into the deep end, that you don't necessarily want to do that completely alone. And I don't think of it so much as kicking dark energy's ass in a resistance kind of way anymore. Now I'm like, hey, dark energy, why don't you go off to the light? Why don't you go off to this better place? And so I work with it rather than against it, because then if you work against it, it's more resistance, and for me to have to clean out later.
I completely agree with that, because that's I remember going through some of the trainings, and even after, I remember a brief period of just like learning so much in general and about myself, and then I just went on this kick of just like, okay, I know the good stuff now. Let's just like, how do I have all that? So I'm just going to attack all the bad stuff, the negative stuff that I'm holding on to. And it was really just about all of that for a while. And yeah, after a while that starts to go away, and it feels good, right?
Yeah. And you get your certainty. One thing you have is incredible certainty. And that's one of the things I think that you get stronger with as a healer and a psychic is like the biggest, darkest, baddest ass energy is like, it ain't no thing. It's like, oh, that's the best you got?
Right.
Look at all this light I have in my hands, or look at all this light I have in my heart, or look at all this light I have in my sixth chakra. And to just, you can believe in the dark, or you can believe in the light. I tend to think that the light usually wins out. And that's, what is that they used to say is the only power dark energy has is to convince you it has power?
I have not heard of that. It's good though.
Well, I I learned it at the school in astral training. So that's one of my more favorite things, is to just, like, am I going to be in power? Or am I going to like lose my shit to that dark thing?
Right.
Sometimes I lose my shit to the dark thing. It happens. That's when I call you.
Yeah, it's
if you need a really good clean out, get an appointment with Andrew.
Yeah, it's never becomes like this perfect paradise afterwards. I always refer, like, when people ask about meditation, I'm always like, well, I mean, it's kind of like exercise, It's like, what do you feel before you exercise? You probably feel resistance. What do you feel before you go to meditate? Probably resistance. But the more you do it, the better you feel. And when you stop doing it, you're going to notice it. And when you can keep doing it, you'll notice it. So
yeah. And the hardest part about the workout is getting to the gym.
right.
Getting over the energy to get to the gym. Right?
Right. It was like kind of like trying to find the school. There's all that energy there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. That's one.
And then once you get it going, it's like inertia, right? Like, how did I not know this before?
Exactly. And that's one of the things I love is that phrase that I heard was just the only thing between you and your dreams is energy. And I was just like, oh, it kind of like simplifies it.
I haven't heard that one, but I like it.
Right. And so it's just like, oh, okay, like it's just energy. Like, okay, like over time I can move that. I can push that out. I can transform it. So
yeah. Yeah.
Because it's interesting. I'll meet a lot.
And it's also, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's always interesting because I'll meet people and sometimes I even catch myself doing it, from time to time. But it's people think that, well, whatever they're born into or whatever the situation is, like that's just the way it is, and it's can never change. Like it's just like, oh well, like I just gotta, too bad for me, right? And it's like, well, you can change the channel, right? You can. It's up to you. It's a conscious choice and belief in that. But
a reset,
right?
And have you found how important it is when you do start to turn on your abilities to have communication, to have other people around that get it, that speak, even if they don't speak the same language from the school you went to, but that they speak the language of energy? Sometimes it's cool to talk to someone that doesn't have the tradition, they have a whole other understanding or whatever. But do you find that it's important to stay in communication, or do you prefer to be more like to yourself?
I think, for me at least, community was huge, and it's funny because I teach English online, and it's funny because I see my mock-ups coming through because some people don't even want to learn English. They just come and see, they're like, I saw a meditation on your profile. Can you tell me everything about meditation? And I'll get on these long conversations about meditation. And that was one of my, someone was talking about things they're experiencing, and I was kind of validating, what they're experiencing. And then I said, I would recommend finding a like-minded group or community that works for you, that's, shares similar, interests and beliefs. And so you can talk about this because... if majority of the world doesn't really know about this stuff, or majority of the world, doesn't
kind of blocks it out.
Doesn't believe in it, or whatever you want to call it or say, when these things are turning on, whether it's just happening or you're trying to intentionally do it, it's going to be a weird experience, and you're going to want to be able to share those experiences with others, because you start to feel a little different or weird, or maybe even feel a little crazy at points. And so when you have communication, it helps you kind of stay more grounded, and kind of just kind of relieves all that just the growth period that happens with turning all this stuff on. I think once you kind of get grounded in this and learn more about it and have more experiences, and like you said, certainty, then if you're on your own, then it shouldn't be too much of a problem. So
yeah. And I had a conversation, Kathy Coons, you might know her from our energy group, but she had sat me down and gave me a talking to, and because I'm always worried about obligating people. Like, there are so many coaches that sell packages, and I've been told all these years, you need to sell packages. And I'm like, yeah, I'm more of a point of use kind of person. And a lot of the psychics that I know don't necessarily book packages. It's like, we'll do your appointment. I don't want to cause you to be addicted to me or be obligated. And she said, when you're working with someone and you're helping them turn on their abilities for the first time, you can't just leave them high and dry. You have to at least say, maybe 3 more sessions would do the trick, or, just to even get you level, and I didn't really think about it that way. And her point was well taken that no, I don't want to cause people to be obligated but at the same time, you can't just turn someone's abilities on or help them to, and then be like, good luck, bye. So I like to let them know the door is open, and, they're probably going to have some interesting experiences and feelings in their bodies and in their minds and in their dreams, and stay hydrated, eat good foods, work out if you can. And the door's open.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's, especially with this stuff, it takes time. It really does. I mean, it can turn on really fast, but I mean, for me, and I think what I've just watching and observing other people go through the process, was that when you start turning all this stuff on, these abilities that are, natural to everyone, you don't really know what you're looking at. It's just like you're a kid in the candy store and you're seeing all these things in different colors, and you're like, wow, this is awesome. And you're like, well, what is it? It just takes time. You got to get through that, past that honeymoon stage of the awe of, wow, what am I looking at? It's not making any sense. And when you get past that, then you start kind of tapping into that intuitive parts of your clairvoyance, and you'll start picking up on different energies of what you're seeing. And it goes from there. But that's a process. It really does take time. And even after you do it after a while, you still will handle that weird invalidation or just even self-doubt through the process. So it's, again, it's this continuous building of your certainty, and then it becomes such a more of a stronger, very smoother experience as you keep going. But yeah, it's a journey, it's a process, it takes time.
Yeah, you start to feel kind of that burn in your muscle of stepping up to the next level. And if you're like climbing energetic stairs, your quads are like, whoa, this is a burn.
Yeah.
Or the resistance or whatever it is. And sometimes for me, it helps to call another psychic like yourself and be like, hey, can I book a session?
Right.
Can I get a hello to what this thing is I'm handling? And even just knowing that it's a thing I'm handling, and then sometimes just naming it helps to get through it.
Absolutely.
Like, oh, it's just 46 years of programming. Nothing.
Right.
Okay.
Just that little thing. Okay, I'm good. And
it's just part of taking a body and being on the planet. Oh, okay, got it.
Right. Yeah,
and humor helps.
Yeah, humor goes a long way, definitely. And yeah, that was the biggest thing. I remember going through that process, and it was like okay, try to move your body, exercise, get the sleep, the food you need. It's like, okay, and you really do need it.
No kidding. Yeah. Well, because isn't it the energy happens immediately, the spirit, there's no time or space for spirit, but bodies have these crazy things like gravity and time, and space to deal with. Yeah,
it's amazing what you can do in spirits, and how quickly you can move mountains of energy, and then you're left with the growth period, which is
good luck with that.
Right. Which is it's the very thing you're wanting. For me, going through the growth periods, and again, a growth period is just you make a change in spirit, and it's just your body's catching up to that change you did in spirit, however small or big or whatever it may be, and yeah, it's the thing you want and thing you signed up for, but it can be uncomfortable in the beginning. But over time, you start to. There's always a discomfort in every growth period, but it's like you kind of get used to the rodeo. You're like, okay, I've been around this. I've done this.
That's a great way to describe it.
I'm gonna fall off over there. It's gonna hurt. I'll pick myself back up and.
Yeah.
Right. So
But on some level, I signed up for it.
right. Yeah, that's because it's. I remember my teacher sitting down because I was like, "Oh, these crappy growth periods. Like, well, what's the deal with this? Like, this is not fun. Like." And then I was just kind of reminded of, well, you're growing towards your dreams. Like, there's a point in doing this, or there's a reason you're doing this, and that's the reminder of like, okay, like this. I might not be feeling all that great right now. But that's the whole part of the growth process and kind of what you're leading to whatever that might be.
Yeah.
So I guess going back to your professional work with energy work and readings, healings, etc. So what type of clients do you like to work with? Anything working with anyone specific, or things subjects you like to go into?
Gosh, I get a lot of different kinds, and to be honest, well, I do two things. I am a clinical psychotherapist, which is not what the interview is about. I know.
No, that's fine.
The interview is about the energy work, but I find that when people come in for a psychic reading, they're getting an overtrained. I take a lot of trainings. They're getting an overtrained clinical psychotherapist, so that information is in the back of my head, understanding things from a developmental, infant point of view, or even gestational point of view, like what was going on. Like I'll see pictures of what was going on when the person was gestating or before the person took a body and came in. And maybe look at some of the deals and agreements that they made before they came in. So in answer to your question, with the psychic clients, that information is in the background, but also when someone comes in clinically, I'm reading the energy as well. I'm just not focusing our conversation on that. Like I might pick up on stuff, and I have neurobiological language I can use that is also energetic. But I think that's one of my niches, is people with developmental ruptures or boundaries from infancy. I also really love working with people whose gifts have just turned on or are turning on, and they are getting the hang of it. They sort of are drinking the Kool-Aid of the energy world, but they don't quite have a handle on it. And I love working with people like that, because it's just so fun to help them blow down doors and kick through energy and understand how awesome they already are, and just like help them to shine their light more and help them to trust their senses more and trust what their energy is picking up on, but maybe they haven't learned to connect the dots yet. Or one of the clinical modalities I do is called somatic experience, which is where do you feel. It's a lot of questions of where do you feel that in your body. It's 1,001 ways to ask that same question. And that felt sense is also as wild as the part of us that's a wild animal. We pick up, we have proprioception, which is where are the other wild animals? Like, is my environment safe? Can I go drink by the pond? Am I going to get attacked by a tiger? And that we pick up on these things in our environment. Like, we might not have eyes on the backs of our heads, but we have sensors that act as vision. And so science will catch up to a lot of the psychic stuff, I do believe. But helping people to kind of connect those dots into their felt sense and their intuition and what their bodies are telling them, what they're, if there's anxiety, there's a reason for it. And so helping people tune into their psychic abilities, their felt sense, and connect the dots and be able to actually trust the messages that they're getting, and be able to listen to the fear, but then see, oh, what is this fear trying to do for me? And then, or is it just some shitty dark energy that's like, that's just been with me since I was 3, like maybe as a childhood friend, but it's outgrown its purpose, so like, let's move it along, buddy. That's a sweet spot, is working with people who have abilities already and are looking for some guidance. I'm enjoying doing relationship readings. Like, so a lot of like the people that are online and they're like, okay, so I'm seeing this person, I might go on a date with this person, what's the vibe? And I'm like, free will choice, this is the energy I'm seeing in present time. And that's kind of, I don't know, that's sort of a guilty pleasure. It's like it's like watching your favorite Netflix show, but seeing it psychically, like, whoa, you don't want to go on a date with this person because they might be a sociopath. No offense. Like the vibe you're picking up on, that something's a little sketchy, trust listen to your vibe. I don't like to tell people what to do. I like to encourage them to trust their instincts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing. That's just kind of telling them what you see, and then they can kind of take it away however they want.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's so you mentioned somatic. Is it somatic touch therapy, right? So that's a lot to do with the body and just kind of where certain things might light up in the body that you're trying to help with clear, maybe.
Well, there's somatic experience, which is a lot of, sitting in chairs across the room, but it's very body focused. And then if you get really into it, the third year is a lot of touch work. It's a 3-year training if you go straight through. And then I went on from there to study more of the touch work. And I never wanted to touch clients, even back at the psychic school, when we would do a little bit of touch here and there. I wasn't comfortable with it, because of a lot of my own hang-ups and a lot of my own, trauma or whatever. In the third year of somatic experience, they bring in the therapy tables to the training and you get into these breakout groups. And I was like, oh, fuck. All the answers are in the tissues. Like I would, put my hands on someone's shoulders and I'd see their whole life. And I'm like, oh no, not again. It's like more psychic abilities turning on here. Holy growth period. Mm-hmm. Now I've got more gifts I have to deal with, or more understanding, or more energy reading. And so there is a neurobiological piece. There is a clinical piece that is the touch work and neurosequential development and neurobiologically based and all this kind of thing. But at the same time, I'm listening for vibration. I'm listening with my hands, and I won't necessarily tell the person all the pictures I'm getting, because that's not really what I'm there to do if I'm doing a clinical appointment. I'm not there to project onto the person or give them a psychic reading if I'm doing a clinical appointment. Even if I'm getting messages, that's not like, I keep it really, because not all of my clinical people wouldn't necessarily be open to it. And even if they were, that's not what they agreed to come in for. So I like to keep it pretty buttoned up. But if I'm working on a psychic person and I'm picking up on a whole lifetime full of stuff, I may note this or that. It's happening so fast and the energy is coming through me. That it's almost like I'm not even privy to what's coming through me in a psychic session when I'm doing energy on someone or doing an energy healing. Some of it I'll see and I'll get an overview. And sometimes the answer is, it's not for you to see, Erin. It's for them to feel and know, but it's not for you to see their business. And that's fine. I'm more there as a mirror or a facilitator, or even, a channel, which I don't love the idea of just being a channel that I don't get to know what's coming through. I like to be in charge of what's coming through me.
Right.
And then I make sure to clean out after.
Yeah, that's huge. It's a big, especially if you're working with, I think really with anything, but especially doing energy work or, really with anything in life. But like when you have clients, it's good to always kind of do a clean out. That's why I think meditation is huge. I've been getting more into, I'm just curious about your thoughts. I know a lot of what our training was about was being, present in the body. And I think that's something I really enjoy and try to live by. But lately something I've been really getting turned on to is lucid.
I was going to ask what you're specializing in these days, or where, your sweet spot is.
Yeah. So it's lucid dreaming or astral projection. So that's something I've always been super interested in, but I never really had control over it. And it's something I experienced just a very few times. And I remember one time where I woke up in a dream and it was just pitch black. And I was looking around trying to find some source of lights, and I found it below me. And then I realized I was hovering above a building. I was looking down and I saw my body sleeping. Wow. I freaked out and, of course, woke up after that. But I've had a couple of
energy.
couple of experiences, and I don't know. I've just been really it's coming back to me, and I'm like, okay, I really want to, like, that's a mock-up, a goal. So that's what I was just curious to see what your thoughts were on that or experiences. Because I know I'm just realizing that a lot of being able to do this is that it's important to meditate at least once, twice a day, and just be cleaned out just internally, so that you can have a more vivid or even lucid experience when you're asleep. So that's something I was going to ask you.
Well, I'm starting. I've looked up astral projection. I've looked at some, YouTube videos, and they're like, it has to be like this and like this and like this, and I'm like, when I've astral projected, it didn't have to be like this or this. I just kind of went into it. Sure. And a lot of times when I'll get an astral healing, I feel like I'm projecting, but I have learned if I'm having a dream and it's not going in my favor, that I can get out. Like, I can remind myself in the dream, hey, you're stuck somewhere. Like, let's get out. Let's wake up. And that's been a handy little tool. I'd love to explore more. maybe the next time we read together, we can look at some astral projection.
Yeah.
There's a mock-up.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to me, and I also don't find that it has to be done the way. I don't know. I don't like dogma, and like someone is like, this is the only way to do it, or
right.
And I find people are consistently saying, or the literature on it will say, this is how you have to do it. And I think it's easier than it's step 1, step 2, step 3. But what I like about how you do your work and how you do your readings and how you teach is you're super grounded. If I have someone that's very much mediumship and they need an appointment with, with someone who can help guide them a bit, I'm always like, you gotta go see Andrew, because you're grounded and solid and certain. And that grounded piece, I think, is really important when it comes to the going out to other realms. Like, stay solid, stay certain here on the earth, the home planet,
right,
while you're going off to these other high-level realms.
Right. Yeah, you want to learn just at least the foundation and get comfortable doing stuff in your body, and mainly, just safety, just your body's safe and you're comfortable, and
yeah.
Yeah, and then being able to kind of eventually move into out-of-body stuff. The out-of-body stuff is just more of like a fun thing to me. It's like the dessert, I guess. It's just like, okay, let's go have fun.
Yeah.
But
I got my chakras grounded. Let's go party.
Right. And so on the topic of dreams, I know we're talking about like sleeping dreams, but something I have a huge affinity for are, pursuing my own dreams and hearing about other people's dreams, what they're pursuing. So I just want to know, is there any dreams that you have that you're already doing or you're working towards, or and just anything? I thought we could talk about that a little bit.
Oh, like real world dreams?
Yeah. Like just like real goals that are really important to you.
Well, you and your wife Heather helped me launch one that I had been wanting to fire back up, was the YouTube channel, and the two of you were like, "Well, we're leaving, so let's get this done." Because you were going to go to the next city that you were going to go to, and to this day, I can't even, every time I talk about the YouTube channel or someone asks me about it, or I get to talk about it on someone's podcast, I'm like, my friend Andrew and Heather, oh my gosh, they got they got me over the hump, because there was all this energy between me and my dream. And you're like, we're going to film it. And you just took it over, you filmed it, and you were my first episode. Heather was my second episode. And it just got the ball rolling, and so much stuff was flowing that day, and I was giddy, and all kinds of weird things would happen when I would go to film something else. Like there's a heap of energy, but then when I would actually get to it, all these signs and symbols would happen. I was interviewing someone, and I looked over, I was like, there is no way in the dead of winter that color of bird is on my balcony in the middle of the interview. And I was like, I was probably imagining that. And later I was like, no way, I was not imagining that was a sign, like keep doing it. I don't know what the sign is entirely, but I looked at it later and I was like, okay, that was a sign of encouragement. So that was a big dream, was to get this refired and to help connect healers to people that maybe, or connect people to healers that they wouldn't be able to come across in their everyday life, and to connect people to energy and help them know that lots and lots of people's abilities and their energy is turning on, and that you're not necessarily losing your mind. It might just be that your energy is turning on, and to be able to kind of be a way shower, in the way that we had way showers, and we had a school and a community. And so that's some of the mission of the show. And I'm starting to notice it's going from interview to interview and reading. And so that's been kind of fun. And then I've got some books, in mind that would be fun to write, and, that I take stabs at here and there. And then to just be able to travel as a psychic and read people around the world. I get to do healings with people in different parts of the world and different parts of the country, some in person, some long distance, and to be able to continue that and grow that more, maybe even to bigger group clearings. I put it out there.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, no, I love hearing about people's dreams, so that's why I brought that up. But actually, yeah, so Word Up, all about healing and healers, your podcast and YouTube show. We did a planetary reading for one of your episodes,
Yes.
so if anyone wants to check that out, we did a reading, kind of just the way we do our readings on people, on clients. You can do it on the planet, and that's what we did.
Who knew?
Right, and that was a lot of fun. I think learned a lot from that. I feel like you could just read it all day.
It got really trippy.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
It does get a little different. Yeah, it's. I feel like I could have just read that for hours. Certain parts of that. But yeah, so if you're...
Even the Earth's Akashic Records, and so you've been on the show twice. Your wife Heather's been on the show once, and I would, if you'll agree to it, I'd love to continue to have you on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Regularly.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, and I'm sure you're going to be on. I'll have you on a couple more times, definitely.
Cool. Thank you. I'm honored.
Definitely. So if you're listening or watching, definitely go check out her podcast and YouTube series, Word Up. You can find our planetary reading there, and many other shows and podcasts or episodes of that. Do you have anything upcoming that's in the works for your show that you would like to talk about, maybe, or no?
I have some guests lined up. I have some cool new shows, and I'm going to start to do some readings online. And I think I'm lining up the people to do it, where I'll actually be reading people's deceased loved ones. I'm going to be doing a space clearing on the show, which people are easy. Houses and warehouses are a deal, because there can be hundreds of years of energy in a place and in a specific place. I mean, people can have hundreds and thousands of years of, intergenerational, but spaces are a deal. So someone asked me to clear a space. I'm like, hey, do you want to come on the show and do it? And so that's coming up, and I'm going to interview some flight attendants and on Monday, I've got someone who runs a really, really cool treatment center out in LA. And he just lost his home in the fires.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't believe. Yeah, he's flying. He's like, well, just lost my home. I'm running the treatment center. Let's go to Chicago and promote it. He's just unbelievable.
Wow.
And he's funny, and he is very creative with how he does. He custom tailors the treatment center to the clients, and it's, you know, for intense things like addictions and eating disorders and that sort of thing, where someone maybe is in such a way that they need to go away to this place, and they get very creative. And so I'll have him on. I'll be interviewing him Monday. We'll release it later. And
very cool.
Yeah, so just that's what I have coming up, and just more YouTube shows. Please subscribe if you like it.
Definitely, yeah. Go check out her YouTube channel. Send her some love. Subscribe.
And subscribe to this. Subscribe to Andrew's podcast.
Nice.
It's awesome.
And
how about you? What do you have coming up?
More of this. I'd like to do more interviews. So what's for those that, and you mentioned flight attendant, so I feel like we could talk for hours about different things, but that was one thing I wanted to talk about that we didn't get to, but I'll have you on again, and probably many times, so we have more time to talk about that later. But so for those that are interested in maybe getting a reading, a healing, how do they contact you?
My website, erindiedling.com, so it's my first and last name.com. They can look at the YouTube channel, which is also my name, or they can look up Word Up on YouTube. And my phone number is 773-263-3222. It's in the U.S. For people listening outside of the U.S. Or they can contact you. Sorry to throw you under the bus. When I have someone on the show, I always say you can contact me to get hold of that person. So they don't have to contact you, but they can just reach out to my website directly, and book an appointment.
Okay. Yeah. If someone contacts me, I can direct them over. But okay. So we'll have all that information in the link in the description below, and I'm sure I'll have it on the screen.
Did you like how I just made more work for you? I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Contact me direct if you can.
Just contact Andrew on that. No.
But I'm happy to put you in touch with Andrew. Or if someone needs a reading, they can contact you too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, anything that's going on that you wanna mention before we wrap up here? I know you got some stuff to do here, but
I think that's those are the big ticket items I have going on now. I am coordinating a training in New Orleans that starts in May, but it's more a clinical training, or it's for body workers, people looking to explore repairing developmental trauma, not looking to dive into developmental trauma. For baby ruptures and young child ruptures, up through adulthood. There's one of my earlier episodes, I interviewed Dr. Steve Torelli's best-selling author on developmental trauma, and he's doing the training down in New Orleans, so I'm coordinating it, and it's the first training I've coordinated, and I'm going to my hometown. I wanted to bring some kind of trauma healing modality to New Orleans, and I've talked with some different corporations that do different modalities, and Steve was like, "Are you kidding? I met the buses in Austin when they arrived, when they were evacuating from New Orleans, and I got on the buses and I worked with the moms and the dads and the kids, because he's a family therapist, and he uses almost exclusively touch work with the kids, with the parents in the room." And he said it'll be a full circle moment, and a day later he had the flyer, and we started putting together the training. He's taught the training around the world. This one will be taught in New Orleans. And so that's at austinattach.com if you're a clinician or a body worker or a rolfer, or just interested or know someone who is. So, or you can also reach me on my website, and I can put you in touch with the information. So that will be very exciting.
Awesome.
A lot of work, but a lot of labor of love. And my passion is bringing some trauma treatment to my hometown, New Orleans.
Very cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I know you got to go here soon, so I want to give you enough time, but I'm so happy to have you on for our first, real interview on our podcast.
Thank you.
This has been fun, and I know there's so many more topics that I'd love to talk about, so we'll have you on plenty more times, and we can collaborate and everything. So, but yeah, thank you for being on, and we'll talk again soon, and thank you for coming.
Thank you, Andrew. It's been a delight, and it's I can't believe it's been 11 years that we've been reading together and doing healing work. But you were my first interview on my show, and thanks for letting me be your first interview. And contact Andrew and subscribe to his podcast because he's awesome. He'll like rock your world energetically if you want to get an energy reading.
Thanks. All right. Yeah, we'll talk again. We'll do anybody that's watching or listen. You'll see Erin on the show again, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thanks, Andrew.
You're welcome. Goodbye.
Bye.